got your name. I got your ass. You will not laugh. You will not cry. You will learn by the numbers. I will teach you.
All right, so here's the game plan with these. I got them from a buddy who they're like double decommissioned in that they were bought at an auction, and then he used them for his small business, and then they were end of lifed a second time, and he replaced them with something more powerful, more modular. So these are hand-me-downs of hand-me-downs, if you will. But I've already got one in service. It's my Zone Minder. It's a DVR for a number of power over Ethernet cameras that I've got all around the property, and that thing just chugs away and records video from all those different feeds, and I can check it on my phone, all that jazz, or log into it. It's running Linux. So we're going to install Windows Tiny 11 on here, hopefully. If not, I'll revert back to what I know works really well and simple with these, which is just Linux, or some distribution of Linux, and we'll get that going. So once we have an OS, my plan is to get one of these up and running as a Plex server. We've got one now, but it's on its last leg, and it's also I'm hoping that on the Windows side it might be a little bit easier to VNC in. I know there's a ton of options for Linux to VNC into a box, but I'm having trouble doing that right now. It hasn't been wife friendly, so I want a thing where she can like just double click on a thing and then it opens up a view of this computer as if she was sitting at it, and then she can manage our media that way a lot easier. So we'll put sonar, radar, and of course Plex media server on here. So let me mess around with these and move some piece parts around, and then I'll come back and let you know what we settled on. I remember last time I had trouble with the there's a card that comes back in here that receives all of these SSDs, and the one that I had was bad, so I had to order a new one. I might have to do that again, but I also might be able to find like a single SATA connection that I can plug into, and there's also an SD card slot in the back that I know you can install. You can at least boot an OS from that, so that should get us going. And then if it works well, maybe I'll move over all the hard drives or order that card and get that thing going. So yeah, let's see how we get on. If you guys are wondering why I'm wearing gloves, I've been sliced open by these and older computer cases so many times. It's worth grabbing a pair of gloves. A lot of the metal edges in here weren't finished; they were stamped, and so the edges can be kind of sharp. Not like a knife when you touch it, but if you slip and your finger gets it, I mean, I've gone down to the bone on some of these things. So be mindful.
You little scumbag! I got your name. I got your ass. You will not laugh. You will not cry. You will learn by the numbers. I will teach you. You little scumbag. I got your name. I got your ass.
Two logical drives, that's right. We've got a 1 terabyte SSD and 6 terabytes of spinning Rust. What do I want to do here? I want to continue. Looking good. This warms my heart. The cockles of my heart. If this boots up, I'll remove this and yank the SD card out. I had this on here because it helps with the airflow to move it through. It panicked earlier. The thing just completely shut off and restarted, and that's either a memory issue or a CPU issue, and I think I might have proc hot, or which is short for processor hot. It's a GPIO line that if the processor hits or gets above a certain temperature, it just shuts it all down. It's like it's a last resort to save itself from melting down, and I think I might have hit proc hot. The reason I said that is I yanked off the heat sinks, took off all the old crusty stock thermal grease, whatever you want to call it, and applied some of this fresh stuff, this MX4 chick stick it. We can do some temperature probing once we get into the OS. I'll get some, maybe check and put a load on it and see how the temperature's doing. All right, we are in like Flynn for at least this stage. Let me go grab some Ethernet cable and we'll get this thing online so we can start downloading all the good bits. All right, it's the next day and I'm gonna call it success. We got some other odds and ends installed. One of the things that this one's missing is that riser card. So I ordered one of those. So in part 2 of this, I'm going to be adding in a graphics card. I'm not sure which one. I've got a 980 kicking around somewhere, but it's pretty power hungry. This can only provide 75 watts, and so I'd have to run external, or I'd have to tap into a 12 volt rail somewhere, either at the power supply or there's a little 8-pin ATX connector over here, Molex looking connector. So you can see Tiny 11, where it's like really low on CPU usage. It kicks up a bit when we're streaming stuff over Plex. Got Plex installed, got Sonar installed for pulling down content automatically, and Radar installed. If you don't know what those are, outside the scope of this video, as far tutorials on getting those installed, they run on Windows, Linux, Mac, I think. So there's a lot of different options for running those. So keep an eye out for these. Sometimes you find them poking out of dumpsters. Sometimes a friend that's in IT has been, hoarding a pile of them because they also want to do something with them. They don't want to put them in the trash or have them recycled. Some recycling is literally just taking it to the dump. Check your areas. Recycling is kind of a scam. So keep an eye out for these things. You can get them anywhere between free and $100. I'd try to lean towards the free side. Obviously, just be a little bit more patient. Don't bother buying these things on eBay. Just look locally. There's lots of places that have these things, or nicer. I mean, I'm not super. I couldn't tell you what brands to be looking for. But some of the stuff, if you recognize the brand, they probably spent some time. These things were thousands and thousands of dollars when they first came out, and so they've got modular fans. Like each of these pop out, and what's it gonna do? Ooh! So they do that, and you'll get a little. You see down here in the corner, it's actually told me that fan 5 has given up the ghost, and now it's back in operation. So these things can be hot swappable. Someone that's servicing them, that's exactly what they do in an enterprise environment. They slide this thing out of a rack. They'd see that, 2 of these fans have shit the bed, and so they swap them out and put it back in, and literally everyone's still using this server. This thing could be streaming a movie, and I could swap out fans and get them going. It's pretty cool in that regard. For the home gamer, not that big a deal, but it's just nice to have that kind of technology. This button here, this UID button, is meant to ID this rack on the back side. There's a reciprocal LED that is lit up in the back. You can almost make it out back there. When I turn this on, it turns it on back there. The idea there is that if you had 20 of these things stacked up and you're like, oh, it's the 4th one, and you go around the backside, you're like, wait, which one? 1, 2, 3, 4. But if you just if you press that, the light in the background on the backside lights up, and you go find it on the back of the rack pretty easily. What I'm interested in doing as a future project is getting this DVD player. It's a reader writer. To have like an automatic script that's sitting there running and waiting on the server, and like my kids could come in, drop in a DVD, close it, it would immediately rip it, go find the metadata and store it on the hard drive, and then maybe like eject it when it's done, or give some sort of like an audible ding dong or something. Then it's on the Plex server forever, and all the kids had to do is kind of load it the one time, and they could sit there and maybe it's a chore that they do where they get a big stack of DVDs from a yard sale or something and they want to ingest them. That would be the way to do it. And then once you do it the one time, you don't have to come back and reload it again. Also great if you've got young kids and they scratch up DVDs. So surely something like that exists. If it doesn't, stick around. Make sure you get subscribed, because we'll have to do that as like a separate project. I'll write that script and get it put out there. I hope you guys have enjoyed seeing me breathe some new life into this old server. I hope to catch you on here again on Julian's Random Projects.
I'm hanging in, there ain't no doubt, and I'm hanging tough, over and out, over and out, over